Well, another beautiful morning on the farm. I don't think they get any better than days out on the farm. But had a guy stop me in the store this week, and every time I see him, it's the same theme. Anyway, he was telling me how the only way you can make any money on the farm is when you sold it, and more or less giving me down the country for farming, And he didn't say the word stupid, but basically that's what he was implying, that it was stupid to farm. But anyway, one reason people have trouble on the farm because they don't want to work 90% of it. The rest of it, they don't manage things right, and number three, they don't utilize what they have to its full potential. Anyway, on that theme, here's some things that we're doing trying to wring an extra dollar out of an acre. I'm a big fan of small grain, like you see here. This is a field of Dura rye. But I'm a big fan of small grain behind our cash crops, which are normally corn and soybeans, and every now and again we raise some sorghum, milo, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, this is Dura rye behind corn silage. There's three little patches here on this main farm. They're all wet natured. We can't get on them in the fall, so we put them in corn silage or some kind of silage and chop that off early in the year. And then we immediately get in there and put some small grain in there, and that helps us with erosion. And then that also is a deal where we're done. We don't have to have combine tracks and all in it and getting stuck and all that stuff. So that's one example. Then we obviously raise a bunch of wheat for grain, and that's the main thing that we do for the cash crop. But here's something that I'm trying. Nothing pretty about it, but pretty oftentimes doesn't pay the bills. But you'll notice it's triticale, um, and you see it there. You can see it coming on up there. There's some of it. Looks pretty decent. Ran completely out of time. Thanksgiving. It was 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving when this was seeded, and I did nothing in the world, but I put the triticale seed that was left over from a neighbor. He had more than he needed, and he cut me a good deal on it, and I bought it and put it in the spreader truck, and across the field I went. And then I got my dad to disc it in while we were shelling corn and thrashing beans, and I think it's probably going to do well for us. The point is, I'm using every acre that I can for 2 crops a year. This will produce baleage for us, for cattle and for sale. There's some secrets to putting it in late like this, because there's a lot of people, it's too late, you missed your window. And there's some truth to that. I mean, I don't like putting it in late, but there's 2 things that you need to do if you're going to put it in late like this. Number one, seeding depth. You need to go deeper. Now, that's going to make it take longer to come up, but it's going to make it more winter hardy, because when it starts to root, it's already starting deeper, so the freeze out is not as prevalent. And also, it will not tiller in the fall. I mean, basically the fall's gone when you planted it. So what's going to happen is it's going to tiller a little bit in the spring, and that's it. And it's not going to tiller a lot then. So you have to up the seeding rate. I upped it a lot. And one reason, because the seed was cheap, but the main reason I knew I had to. Now, I don't have a lot of this. It's 70, I think 2 acres of it. It's not you know, you look back at it in history, it's not going to be a big deal one way or the other, as far as, huge crop or whatever. But you can see it coming up. I will continue to monitor it and try to keep y'all posted of what's going on. But the main point being, when most people have quit, they're done for the year, we're still out working, striving to get something done. This was not in the plan, but this land was open. It was double crop soybeans here behind thrashed wheat, and we're utilizing it now for a hay crop, and it'll go in corn. Last year we sold a tremendous amount of baleage, and then going back through the year, looking at the books, it wouldn't have been near as good a year if it wasn't for it. All the fields here on the other side of the driveway, same way. Everything here's in triticale or rye. There's those 3 little fields of rye that I was talking about, and that was leftover seed from last year, where people didn't pick up. A few guys didn't. They ordered this much of it and got ready to plant it. Well, I really don't need but this much. Well, I'm not going to be a butthole about it. So I had some left over. This, for whatever reason, Dad dissed it a little bit deeper, and I noticed it, and I stopped him and asked him what was going on, and he said, well, you're right, I didn't realize that, or whatever, for whatever reason. So we've got some different depths, planting depths here, and the shallower is naturally coming up quicker. Now, none of it's shallow. None of it's shallow. We're disking it in, But, and I don't like that. I'd a whole lot rather use a sod drill, but we wanted to do a little bit of tillage here for compaction reasons, and it's much quicker, and I could put him on the disc, and he's enjoying himself. He's sitting in the cab enjoying himself and doing what he does, and so that worked out well for us. So these guys that's talking about, hey, we can't make it on the farm, and like the guy that I saw at the store, he was all into farming. He was doing great as long as his daddy was living. Once his daddy died, he's sold off stuff every year. Now, he's not willing to do what I'm showing here. That's extra work, and he's not willing to do that. I mean, we were shelling corn 2 days before Christmas. We were still shelling corn because we had such a bumper crop. Couldn't get it in between rainstorms, and we didn't have anywhere to put it. So, wonderful problem to have. But he was going fishing. He was headed out fishing. So I'll just kind of leave that right there, and you can kind of figure that out. Maybe you want to go fishing too. I do too, but I guess I'm a little different than most. You'll see here, this was seeded early, and we've got some erosion right here. We've had nothing but terrible rainstorms. We don't get a shower anymore or rain anymore. We get a gully wash. We had 11 inches of rain in something like a day and a half or something. It was pretty bad. We're talking planting depth on this late stuff. It needs to go deeper for the winter hardiness. You can see here, this section that you're looking at here was put in with a harrow. You can see it here. You can see this was put in with a harrow with a rolling basket behind it. And then you skip over here. This was put in with a disc. I didn't like the way the harrow was doing, so but he came back with a disc. And I say a harrow, a field cultivator with a rolling basket behind. And you can see the, you can see it here. So what was put in a little bit shallower is up quicker than this. But this is coming, and I think you're going to find we're going to get pretty decent tonnage off of it, especially realizing it's a secondary crop. And more importantly, it's excellent feed. Wheat, barley, rye, triticale. If you've got bin run, making a difference what it is, put it in the ground. If you've got livestock, and you'll find out that these roots on all this stuff will make a huge difference in your compaction, in your soil. That stubble that you don't take off, that the disc bind leaves, all that would turn into organic matter. And you'll find out that you can wring an extra $1 or $2 out of it, out of each acre. And also, don't forget there's a grazing aspect here too. We have not utilized that, have not tapped into that at all, but that's certainly possible if you plant it early enough, like behind that corn silage where this Duro rye here was planted. We could have gotten a one grazing session off of it, and probably could get one in the spring and then still get a cutting off of it. And of course, you can work that and balance that to your advantage. Some years you may need, you may need the grazing, and some years you don't. So you work that to your advantage. But I think that's what makes a difference between some farmers and other farmers. Thank heavens we've been blessed. But we're not only are we making money, but we're expanding every year. Not by leaps and bounds, but we're expanding every year. Where the guy at the store, he's going out, And, anyway, hope this helps you a little bit, makes you think about some other things you can do, because, when we started this project right here, everybody was done. The wheat was coming up, was Thanksgiving, and we're still out working. And I think you're going to find out we're going to make some beautiful, beautiful hay here out of something that was, potentially a lost cause. It's too late to plant. Anyhow, just a few things for you to think about. Thanks for watching. We'll talk with you next time.